folks, the Filipina P here, telling it like it is. Over the past few months, I've done a number of videos regarding the different ways that men and women view each other's motivations when selecting a mate. Almost always, the comment section is full of mostly reasonable attitudes and viewpoints. But it's disturbing to notice the number of responses from people of both sexes who seem to look at each other's mating strategies with suspicion and anger. Some men say, "All women want is my money. They don't even know what love is." From the women, I hear, "All men want is my body. They don't even know what love is." Well, I'm here to tell you you're both right and you're both wrong. To get to the bottom of things, I've constructed another social experiment. There have been other surveys that try to answer this question, but as always, I want to put my personal stamp on it and conduct the research myself. What am I looking for? Well, let's see if it's true that a woman finds money attractive. The test. I took the photos of 4 random men and 4 random women and spent an entire day showing them to random people of the opposite sex. The question I asked was a simple one. How good looking are these people on a scale of 1 to 10? Easy, right? Well, to establish a baseline, the first set of photos I presented had no other information whatsoever, just their pictures. But then, I added a small bit of biographical information to the bottom corner of all the photos, including a generic name like Bill Smith, a common hometown like San Diego, and then on the bottom line, I put a fictitious income, no occupation to skew the results, just the words yearly income, followed by a number in dollars and pesos. Some people were given a low income, and some were given a considerably higher amount. I showed the new sets of photos to new random people and recorded the results. Then, as a third step, I changed the income figures on all the photos. If someone had a small income the first time, I gave them a large income for the final round. Now, since the question was, how good looking are these people? The income figure shouldn't have had anything to do with it. But to make sure my test subjects notice it, I told them to study each picture for a few seconds before giving their score. That way, I didn't have to call attention to the information on the photos, but I knew they'd see it. So what did I find out? The results. Over the course of 9 hours, I interviewed 36 women and 21 men. Fortunately, most people were willing to participate and took their time in studying the photos. Afterwards, I analyzed the data and looked for patterns to emerge, and sure enough, some clear trends became obvious. While the sample size of this experiment means that we can't draw any firm conclusions, the results are still very telling. This man was regarded as the best looking of the bunch when I showed his photo without any other information. When he was given a high income, his score climbed almost a full point. But when I gave him a low income, his score dropped an impressive 1.8 points. This man was seen as the least attractive. When shown with a low income, his score barely moved, dropping less than half a point. But when given the larger income, he suddenly ranked almost 3 points higher. Clearly, the income figure had a huge impact on what was supposed to be his physical attractiveness. The other men showed the same effect to varying degrees. Not surprisingly, a higher income raised their numbers, and the lower income reduced the scores. The one thing I did find interesting, though, was that the less attractive a man was, the more he could improve his rating with wealth. For the women, this photo received the highest ratings, which barely moved at all when the income information was added. In fact, all the women's scores remained stable no matter what income was shown, except in one case. This woman was regarded as the least attractive, And when shown with a huge income, something interesting happened. Her score actually dropped by just over a full point. What the heck is that about? So what does it mean? Well, for many people, the big takeaway from this experiment will be, aha, I knew it. Women really are just after money. But if you don't look any further than that, you'll miss an important point and a deeper truth. Yes, it's obvious that the women in the survey were ranking men higher when they believed they were wealthy. But why? Are women just evil, superficial creatures looking to get rich? The answer can be found in our past. Women evolved to think about more than easy sex. That's no problem for us typically. So we just don't value it the way men do. If you lived on a beach, where every grain of sand represented an available sexual encounter, just how valuable would random sex be to you? It might be fun, but it's not something you'd give away the farm to get more of. Women are more selective when it comes to who we mate with, because children require a huge investment in time and resources. We can produce an unlimited amount of children the way a man can. So we have to be the gatekeepers in the sex department. Although admittedly, a growing number of us seem to fail miserably at keeping the gate closed. Even if we're not planning to have children, even if we're using contraceptives, women are still programmed to seek out the best mate we can. We don't really want to settle down with a hot guy that can't put food on the table. On the other hand, men are programmed to reproduce as much as possible. And even if you're not wanting to actually have children, nature has given most of you higher sex drives and a different method of picking mates. You tend to be attracted initially to the physical aspect and rarely look at a woman in terms of financial resources. Does that mean that you're shallow and only want a woman to keep her mouth shut and the bed warm? Of course not. Attraction goes much deeper than looks or money. It encompasses the way a person smells, the way they move, the sound of their voice, their mannerisms, their intelligence, their loyalty, their humor, their overall personality. It's just that men see the looks first, and it's one of the most important components for them, while women pay attention to a man's ability to make them feel secure both physically and financially. But both sexes do consider those other traits I just mentioned. Earlier, I said I was disturbed at the comments from so many men and women who accuse each other of paying attention to the wrong things. Why should that bother me if that's actually true? It's because both sexes use the very same strategies that they complain about. When a man takes the whole wad of cash from his wallet to pay for a small bottle of Coke so that everyone sees his roll of bills, it's a mating strategy. And why does he do it? Because it's effective. So don't complain when a woman notices what you're waving in front of her face. When a woman wears a low-cut top and leans down to pick something up that she accidentally dropped, well, I wouldn't get any attention, but you know what I mean, then she can't turn around and fuss about being treated like a sex object. And consider this. Is it any worse for a woman to want financial security than it is for a man to want a woman for her physical beauty? Somehow, there's the stigma surrounding a woman who would dare to admit that she considers a man's net worth, but hardly anyone bats an eye when men talk about a woman with a sexy bum and an amazing rack. Honestly, what would you think of a woman that you overheard saying, "Oh, just look at that guy's bulging portfolio"? You might find that really offensive and a big red flag. Somehow it even bothers me too. But when a guy says that he prefers to only date physically hot women, that's no big deal. That's a no-brainer. It's almost a double standard that both sexes are guilty of. But it really doesn't need to be such a source of conflict. Women do care about a man's finances. But if that was all they care about, then the man with the highest income in our experiment would have always come out on top, which was not the case at all. A man definitely got extra points for having resources, but it was also clear that women do care about looks too. Because the most attractive man was still the most attractive man, no matter what his economic status. Now, man might say, I'm a loving, honest, loyal guy who would make a great partner, but I don't get attention because I'm not wealthy enough. Well, that's exactly what a woman would say as she's being passed over because she's got an unfortunate face, crooked teeth, and a bad case of acne. Some guys do say, oh, I don't care if my woman has a face like a pit bull as long as she's a good companion. And there are women who fall in love with guys who are struggling to get by. But that's not usually our first choice. So is it really such a deal breaker that the two sexes are attracted to different things and have slightly different needs? As I've often said, a guy doesn't have to hand over his assets to make a woman happy. If I were a man, I'd keep my assets under my control and under my ownership. But if she's a good woman, she'll be perfectly content just knowing that as long as you stay together, she's safe and you can provide for her. And if a woman tries her hardest to stay in good shape and remain, as best she can, the attractive woman she was when you chose her, then is it such a big deal that you look at her body as a source of so much pleasure? Because it's just the way it is. Can't we accept each other's needs and desires and still leave room for true love in there too? Can a man look at a woman as a sexual being and still love her as well? And can a woman look to a man for security and also be truly in love with him? The answer to both questions is yes. And finally, what about the unattractive woman whose score actually decreased when her income rose? Maybe it means men want to be the provider, or maybe they just want to be perceived as the provider in order to increase their chances of mating. Maybe they subconsciously assume that a woman with a high income is going to be bitchy or a Karen. My experiment can determine the reasons, but I encourage you viewers to post your theories on that phenomenon. Well, that's all for today, folks. Check back with me in a few days and I guarantee I'll have something else for us to chew on. Till then. Now I'd like to take this time to clear something up. A little while ago, I did a video on the transsexual scene here in the Philippines. For some odd reason, I got quite a few questions asking if that means I'm transsexual myself. It's not that I'd be offended if someone honestly thought I was trans, which I'm not. It's the logic, or lack thereof, in asking the question that I find offensive. If I do a story on cam show girls, does that mean I'm a cam show girl myself? And since I did a video about call girls, I guess I'm one of those too? But oh well, I'm about to put the stupid questions to rest. And I have a person here tonight with impeccable credentials and honesty. I've asked Gracie to perform an examination and report her findings right here, right now. Whenever you're ready, Gracie.
Okay, let's have a look.
What the heck?
Ugh. Ah. Oh no. Oh. What's this? Oh. Oh my God. We're gonna need a bigger boat. By the way, 100% female.
See? I told you. If you think about it, I'm kind of like your pilot, helping you keep your nose up and out of trouble here in the Philippines. The main thrust of my videos is to keep you entertained and informed about the culture here, so you'll have a soft landing when you arrive. Now please exit my cockpit, return to your seats, hit the thumbs up button on this video, subscribe to my channel, and enjoy some of my other videos while you relax. And flight attendant P, please stop flirting with the passengers and bring me my coffee.